Folks ask me, what's a human soul worth? I paid $1 for hers, but what she taught me, that was priceless. The snow fell heavy that December morning in 1889, covering Whitewood, West Virginia like a burial shroud. The kind of cold that gets into your bones and won't let go. The kind that makes good men stay inside and bad men bolder. I hadn't been to town in 4 months. Hadn't wanted to be. Up in my cabin, high in the Appalachian forest, I could pretend the world below didn't exist. Could pretend I wasn't running from my past. Could pretend that Ruth's grave under the old pine tree wasn't the only conversation I needed. But a man's got to eat, and pelts don't sell themselves. So there I was, Jacob Bear McAllister, 58 years old, beard down to my chest, shoulders broad as an ox yoke, leading my pack horse through Whitewood's main street. The townspeople stared like they always did. Part fear, part curiosity. The mountain hermit come down from his cave. I was heading to the trading post when I heard it. Laughter, the cruel kind. The kind that makes your gut twist because you know someone's suffering is the joke. I turned toward the lumberyard. A crowd had gathered, maybe 40 men, all circling something on the wooden platform where they usually auction timber and livestock. But this wasn't timber they were selling. It was a woman. She wore the black and white habit of a nun, but it was torn, dirty, stained with mud and what looked like blood. Her hands were bound with rough hemp rope. Her face was pale, lips cracked, eyes hollow with the kind of fear that comes from knowing mercy is a foreign language in this place. She couldn't have been more than 23, 24 years old. And around her neck, catching what little sunlight broke through the gray clouds, was a wooden cross on a simple cord. My heart stopped. It was the same cross Ruth had worn, the same design, carved by the same hands at St. Catherine's Convent. I knew because I'd held Ruth's cross the night she died, whispering prayers I didn't believe anymore. The auctioneer was a pig of a man named Silas Crow. Everyone knew Silas. Everyone hated Silas. But fear keeps mouths shut in small towns, and Silas had plenty of reasons to be feared. He ran lumber camps up north where men went in strong and came out broken, if they came out at all. Silas held up a piece of paper, waving it like a flag. Gentlemen, gentlemen, last item of the day. One nun, hardly used, can read and write, knows her medicines. Starting bid, $10. The crowd laughed. Someone shouted, "What kind of fool pays for damaged goods?" Silas grinned, showing tobacco-stained teeth. Fair point, fair point. Let's say $5 then. More laughter. The woman, this nun, she didn't cry, didn't beg, just stood there swaying slightly, like a tree that's been cut but hasn't fallen yet. Then she whispered something. So quiet, most men didn't hear it, but I did. Please, do it quick. She thought someone would buy her to kill her. Thought that was mercy. Something in my chest cracked open. Something I'd kept locked and buried for 3 years. I pushed through the crowd. Men parted because when a man my size moves with purpose, you get out of the way or get moved. Silas saw me coming and his grin faltered. Just for a second. Well, Bear McAllister, thought you died up in that mountain. I didn't answer him, just looked at the woman. Her eyes met mine. No hope in them, just exhaustion. Then I looked at the paper in Silas's hand. It had a signature at the bottom, an official-looking seal from St. Catherine's Convent. My jaw tightened. How much? I asked. Silas laughed. For the nun? She's stubborn, got a mouth that talks back, costs more to feed than she's worth. Tell you what, mountain man, give me $1 and she's yours. Consider it charity. And the crowd erupted in laughter. A human life for $1. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out a single silver dollar coin, the last one I had from selling my pelts last autumn, and I dropped it on the barrel between us. The sound of that coin hitting wood cut through the laughter like a knife. Every man went silent. Silas blinked. You're serious. I need that paper signed, I said. My voice came low, controlled. The voice I used when I was a U.S. Marshal, before I gave up the badge. Every man here witnesses this transaction. You write your name on the back, today's date, what you sold, and for how much. Silas's eyes narrowed. Oui, Mo, because I'm a careful man. The crowd shifted, uncomfortable now. They knew what I was doing. I wasn't just buying her. I was creating evidence, legal evidence, the kind that could hang a man for trafficking human beings in a country that fought a war to end that very thing. Silas knew it too. I could see the calculation in his eyes, but his greed won out. It always did with men like him. He took a pencil from his pocket and scrawled on the back of the paper, "Sold Sister Anna Clare to Jacob McAllister. $1, 40 witnesses, December 15th, 1889. He shoved the paper at me. "There, now take her and get out of my sight." I folded the paper carefully and put it in my inside coat pocket, right next to my heart. Then I climbed onto the platform. The woman flinched, thought I was going to grab her, hurt her, claim my property. Instead, I pulled my hunting knife from my belt. She closed her eyes. I cut the ropes, binding her wrists. "You ride with me," I said quietly. Not a command, a statement. Her eyes opened. Confusion flickered across her face. "What do you want from me?" I didn't answer, just turned and walked to my horse. After a moment, I heard her footsteps behind me, slow, uncertain, like a person learning to walk again after a long illness. I helped her onto the saddle. She was so light, like lifting a child. I swung up behind her, keeping a respectful distance, just close enough to steady her if she fell. As we rode out of Whitewood, I felt 40 pairs of eyes on my back, felt Silas's hate boring into my spine. Good. Let him hate. Hate was honest, better than the false kindness that had sold this woman in the first place. We rode for 2 hours in silence. The forest closed around us, thick pines heavy with snow. The only sounds were hoofbeats muffled by white powder and Anna's occasional sharp intake of breath when the cold bit too deep. Finally, I stopped by a frozen creek, the kind of place where water runs so pure you can see straight to the stones at the bottom, now locked under ice. I dismounted and helped Anna down. She stumbled, legs numb from the cold and the ride. I caught her elbow, steadied her, then let go. From my saddlebag, I pulled out a tin canteen. The water inside was cold but not frozen. I poured some into my cupped hand first, then offered her the canteen. She stared at it like it might be poison. "It's just water," I said. She took it with shaking hands, drank, coughed, drank more. While she drank, I pulled out my spare wool coat, the one I'd bought 2 years ago and never wore because it reminded me too much of Ruth's favorite color, that deep forest green. I draped it over Anna's shoulders. She looked up at me, really looked at me for the first time, and I saw it, that flicker of something other than fear. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Her voice was hoarse, damaged from screaming or crying or both. "You don't know me." I sat down on a fallen log, pulled out a piece of cornbread from my pack. It was hard as a rock, 3 weeks old, but it was food. I broke it in half, offered her one piece. She took it, tried to bite it. Her teeth barely made a dent. "Is this food?" she asked, and there was something almost like humor in her voice. Amazing. After everything she'd been through, she could still find something funny. "Yep," I said, completely serious. "Made it myself 3 weeks ago." 3 weeks? Her eyes widened. "Still good. Hasn't killed me yet." And then she laughed. It was a small sound, broken, barely more than a breath. But it was a laugh, real and human and alive. I almost smiled, almost. We sat there in the snow, eating bread that could break teeth, while the forest settled into its evening quiet. Birds called their last songs. Somewhere far off, a wolf howled. Anna pulled the coat tighter around herself. "Why did you help me?" she asked again, softer this time. I was quiet for a long moment, watching the light fade through the pine branches, watching the way the snow seemed to glow blue in the dusk. "My wife wore a cross like that," I finally said, nodding at the wooden cross still around her neck. "She was a sister too, died 3 years back, tending the sick when nobody else would." Anna's expression softened. "I'm sorry." I nodded, didn't trust my voice for a second. "She'd have done what I did," I continued. "Probably faster, so I figure I owed her this much." Owed her. Ruth always said the measure of a man isn't what he believes. It's what he does when nobody's watching. When it's hard. when it costs something. Anna looked down at her hands, at the raw rope burns on her wrists. That paper you made him sign, she said. You were creating evidence. I was. Evidence of what? Evidence that Silas Crow is a slave trader, and in this country, that's a hanging offense. Her breath caught. You are going to have him arrested. Eventually, when the time's right. When we have enough proof that no judge can ignore it. We? I looked at her directly. Unless you'd rather I take you back. No. The word came out fast, panicked, then softer. No, please. Then we, you and me. We're going to make sure what happened to you doesn't happen to anyone else. The forest had gone fully dark now. Time to move. I stood, offered her my hand. She hesitated only a moment before taking it. Her hand was small in mine, cold, still trembling, but her grip was firm. We rode the last hour to my cabin in darkness, guided only by starlight, in the memory of trails I'd walked 1,000 times. When we finally arrived, I helped Anna down and led her inside. The cabin was simple. One room with a stone fireplace, a wooden bed in the corner, a small table, 2 chairs, dried herbs hanging from the rafters, pelts stacked against the wall, and on a small shelf, Ruth's Bible, her prayer beads, and her cross identical to the one Anna wore. Anna saw them and stopped. Your wife, she whispered. Ruth. She was from St. Catherine's? 17 years she served there. Then she married me. Some folks said she was giving up her vocation. She said she was expanding it. I started a fire in the hearth. The flames caught quick, cedar and pine crackling, filling the room with warm light and the smell of forest. You'll take the bed, I said. I'll sleep by the fire. I can't take your bed. You can and you will. I've slept in worse places. I pulled out one of Ruth's old nightgowns from a trunk. It smelled like wood smoke and dried lavender. Handed it to Anna. There's a washing basin behind that curtain. Water in the pitcher. Take your time. She took the nightgown like it was made of gold. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. We've got hard days ahead. While she washed and changed, I sat by the fire, pulling out the paper Silas had signed. I read it again by firelight. Legal proof. Clear as day. But it wasn't enough. One signature wouldn't bring down an entire operation, because I knew deep in my gut that Silas wasn't working alone. Men like him never do. Someone had given him Anna. Someone had signed those papers from St. Catherine's. Someone inside the convent was selling nuns and orphans. Anna emerged from behind the curtain wearing Ruth's nightgown. It was too big on her, sleeves hanging past her hands, but she looked warmer, more human. Jacob, she said quietly. Yeah? When you said we're going to stop this, what did you mean? I poked the fire, watching sparks spiral up the chimney. I mean, we're going to find out who at St. Catherine's sold you. We're going to get proof, and we're going to make sure they never sell another soul. It was Mother Constance, Anna said, her voice tight. She's the Mother Superior. She's the one who did this. I looked up sharply. You're certain? I saw the ledger 2 months ago. I was cleaning her office and I found it, hidden behind a painting of the Virgin Mary. It had names, 30 children, 7 nuns, all sold, all with prices next to their names. My blood went cold. 30 children? Anna nodded, tears streaming down her face now. Orphans, kids with nowhere else to go. She sold them to coal mines, lumber camps, anywhere that would pay. The youngest was 6 years old. I stood up, fists clenched. Ruth died trying to save children at that convent, and all the while the woman in charge was selling them like cattle. Mother Constance found out I knew, Anna continued. She drugged my evening tea. When I woke up, I was in Silas's wagon, bound and gagged. He laughed and said I'd fetch a good price at one of his camps. But he brought you to Whitewood instead. He said I was damaged goods, said I fought too much, talked back. Easier to sell me public and be done with it. I sat back down, mind racing. This wasn't just about saving Anna anymore. This was bigger. This was about justice for 30 children who couldn't speak for themselves. We need that ledger, I said. It's suicide to go back there. Mother Constance will have told Silas by now that I know about it. He'll be watching. Well, then we'll have to be smarter than him. Anna wiped her tears, and I saw something shift in her face. Fear was still there, but something else too. Something harder. Determination. "I'll go back," she said. "I know the convent. I know where everything is, but you'll have to get me there. We'll go together. Jacob, if you're caught, then we're caught together. That's how this works." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Get some rest," I told her. "We've got maybe 6 hours before Silas realizes what that paper he signed really means. After that, he'll come looking." Anna climbed into the bed. I added more wood to the fire and settled into my chair, rifle across my lap. Outside, the wind picked up. Snow began to fall harder, the kind of storm that keeps most men indoors. But I wasn't most men, and tomorrow neither was Anna. Tomorrow, we'd start hunting. The problem with being a hunter, though, is sometimes you don't realize you're also being hunted. I woke 3 hours before dawn to the sound that doesn't belong. It was subtle, just the snap of a branch under snow. Could have been a deer. Could have been the wind, but I'd lived in these mountains too long to believe in coincidence. I moved to the window, careful not to make the floorboards creak. Peered through a gap in the shutters. 4 sets of tracks in the fresh snow, leading right up to my cabin, then circling around back. Someone was watching us. I crossed to the bed where Anna slept, put my hand gently over her mouth before she could scream. Her eyes flew open, wild with panic. "Quiet," I whispered. "We've got company." I removed my hand. She sat up instantly alert. Whatever softness sleep had brought to her face vanished. She was back in survival mode. "How many?" she whispered. "4 tracks, could be more." "Silas?" "Don't know, could be bounty hunters, could be worse." I handed her my spare knife. "You know how to use this?" "Father Samuel taught me. Said nuns in the wilderness need to defend more than just their faith." Smart man, this Father Samuel. The knock on the door came hard and official. "Jacob McAllister." The voice was familiar. My stomach sank. Warren Hicks. Deputy Warren Hicks. We'd worked together 10 years ago when I was still a marshal, back when we both believed in justice, before Warren started believing in whoever paid him most. "I know you're in there, Bear. Open up. This is official business." I looked at Anna. She'd gone pale. "You know him?" I asked. "He was there, in Whitewood, watching when Silas sold me. He didn't do anything." "Of course he didn't. Warren never did anything that didn't profit Warren." "What do we do?" Anna whispered. I thought fast. The cabin had 2 exits, front door and a back window that led to the root cellar. If Anna could get through that window, she could make it to the barn, release the horses, create a distraction. "The back window," I said quietly. "It's small, but you'll fit. Get to the barn, open the stalls. When the horses run, Hicks and his men will chase them. I'll slip out and come around behind." That's a military tactic. I learned from the best. "Jacob McAllister," Warren's voice again, angrier now. "Don't make this difficult. The nun you took, she's wanted for theft. You're harboring a criminal." Anna's eyes widened. "Theft? Mother Constance must have reported you stole from the convent. Clever. Makes you the criminal instead of her. So if they take me back, they'll hang you or worse, which is why they're not taking you anywhere." I moved to the front door. "Warren, that you?" "It's me, Bear. Now open this door before I kick it in." "Give me a minute. I'm not decent." That bought us 30 seconds. I turned to Anna. "Go, now." "And Anna?" "Yeah? You're stronger than you know. Trust that." She nodded once, then moved fast and quiet to the back window. For someone who'd been half dead yesterday, she moved like a ghost. I watched her slip through, drop into the snow outside, then vanish toward the barn. "Good girl." I counted to 10, then opened the front door. Warren stood there with 3 men I didn't recognize, hired guns by the look of them, cold eyes, hands resting on holstered pistols. Warren himself looked rough. 10 years had not been kind. More gray in his beard, more weight around his middle, more meanness in his eyes. "Warren," I said evenly. "Bear." He tried to look past me into the cabin. "Where is she?" "Where's who?" "Don't play stupid. The nun, Sister Anna Clare. You bought her in Whitewood." "I bought a piece of paper. The woman came with it, but she's free to go whenever she wants." "That's not how the law sees it." The law, that's rich, coming from you. Warren's jaw tightened. I'm here on official business. Mother Constance filed a complaint. Sister Anna stole from the convent. Valuable property. We need to bring her in. Valuable property or valuable person? Because there's a difference, Warren, and you know it. Step aside, Bear. No. One of the hired guns moved his hand closer to his pistol. Warren noticed and held up a hand. Easy. We don't want trouble. Then leave. Can't do that. Why not? What's Silas paying you? Or is it Mother Constance? How much does it cost to buy a deputy these days? Warren's face flushed red. You self-righteous bastard. You think you're better than me because you quit? Because you ran away to play mountain man? I stayed. I worked the job. I do what needs doing. You work for whoever pays. That's not the same thing. Behind us from the barn, I heard it. The sound of horses bursting free, hooves pounding snow. The hired guns spun around. What the hell? One of them shouted. The horses scattered in 3 directions, wild and free. After them, Warren yelled. Those are evidence. The 3 hired guns took off running. Idiots, chasing horses in deep snow. That left just Warren and me. He turned back to me, understanding dawning on his face. You planned that. Might have. Where is she, Bear? Gone. And you're not finding her. Warren's hand dropped to his gun. I don't want to do this. Then don't. Silas owns my debts. You know how this works. If I don't bring her back, he takes my land, my house, everything. So you'd sell a woman to save your property? I'd do what I have to. We can't all be heroes. You don't have to be a hero, Warren. You just have to not be a coward. His hand closed around his pistol grip. I move first. 40 years of wilderness living. You learn to move fast. I closed the distance before he could draw, grabbed his wrist, twisted. The gun fell into the snow. We went down together, 2 old men fighting like young fools. Warren got in a solid punch to my ribs. I returned it with one to his jaw. We rolled in the snow, grappling, neither of us willing to quit. Finally, I got him pinned, knee on his chest, my hunting knife at his throat. Both of us breathing hard, both of us knowing this could end badly. Tell Silas this, I said, voice low and hard. If he wants her, he'll have to go through me, and I don't die easy. Tell Mother Constance the same. Tell them both that paper they signed, that's evidence. Legal evidence, and I'm bringing it to a U.S. Marshal I trust. And when I do, they'll hang. Warren stared up at me, fear and anger warring in his eyes. You're making a mistake, Bear. I've made worse. I stood up, pulling him to his feet, shoved him toward his horse. Ride away, Warren, while you still can. He mounted up, looking back at me one last time. It's not just Silas and Mother Constance, you know. There's more, bigger players. You're walking into something you don't understand. Then help me understand. I can't. I'm in too deep. He turned his horse and called out to his men. They came back empty-handed, muddy and cursing. They all rode away together, leaving deep tracks in the snow. When they were gone, Anna emerged from the tree line. That was close, she said. Too close. We need to move. Warren will report back to Silas within hours. After that, they'll come with more men. Where do we go? I looked toward the horizon where the sun was just beginning to rise, painting the snow pink and gold. We go back to St. Catherine's. Tonight, while Mother Constance thinks we're running. We get that ledger, and then we end this. Anna was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. I'm done running, she said. Good, because so am I. We spent the day preparing. I taught Anna how to cover tracks in snow, how to move quietly through brush, how to read the forest for signs of pursuit. She learned fast, faster than most men I'd trained. Father Samuel had taught her well. As the sun set, we stood outside my cabin one last time. I strapped on my gun belt, checked my rifle, made sure I had extra ammunition. Anna wore Ruth's spare traveling clothes, men's trousers and a heavy coat. Practical, warm, nothing to identify her as a nun. You ready for this? I asked. She looked at me with those eyes that had seen too much suffering but hadn't given up hope. I've been ready since the moment they tied my hands in that wagon. We rode out as the stars came out. heading back toward the place that had betrayed her, back toward danger. But this time she wasn't alone. This time she was the hunter, and God help anyone who stood in our way. The forest at night is a living thing. Every shadow moves. Every sound carries meaning. The snap of a twig could be a deer or a man with a rifle. The rustle of branches could be wind or someone moving parallel to your path, waiting for the right moment to strike. Anna learned this fast. We rode through Black Ridge Pass, the most treacherous route between my cabin and St. Catherine's Convent. Most travelers avoided it, especially in winter. The path was narrow, winding between rock faces that seemed to lean in close, threatening to crush anyone foolish enough to pass through. But that was exactly why we chose it. Silas and his men would expect us to take the main road. They'd set up ambushes there, watching every traveler, every wagon. In Black Ridge, we were alone with the mountain. 2 hours into the ride, Anna's horse stumbled. I heard the animal's legs snap before I saw it. The sound echoed off the rock walls like a gunshot. The horse went down hard. Anna rolled clear just in time, landing in snow up to her waist. I dismounted fast, checking her first, then the horse. Anna was shaken but unhurt. The horse wasn't so lucky. Front left leg broken clean through. The animal was trying to stand, failing, eyes wild with pain. Anna saw it too. Her face went white. "We have to help her," she said. "We will." I pulled my pistol, one shot, quick and clean. The horse's suffering ended. The echo of that gunshot rang through the pass for what felt like forever. When it finally faded, the silence was worse. "They'll have heard that," Anna whispered. "I know." "How far behind are they?" "Close enough." I pulled supplies off the dead horse, redistributing weight to mine. "We ride together now. My horse can carry us both for a while, but we'll have to walk some." Anna looked back the way we'd come. In the moonlight, I could see the fear in her eyes. Not fear for herself, fear that we'd fail, that those children would stay trapped forever. "Will they catch us?" she asked. "Not if we're smart and lucky." We rode double for the next hour, my horse straining under the extra weight but holding steady. Good animal. Ruth had picked him out 7 years ago, said he had heart. She was right about that, like she was right about most things. When the terrain got too steep, we dismounted and walked, leading the animal carefully over ice-slicked rocks. The wind picked up, howling through the pass like something alive and angry. That's when we heard it, a child crying. Anna stopped dead. "Did you hear that?" I did. The sound came again, weak, distant, but unmistakable. A child in distress. "We have to find them," Anna said. "Anna, we don't have time. Silas could be—" "I don't care." Her voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "If there's a child out here, alone in this cold, we're not leaving them." I wanted to argue, wanted to tell her we had to think strategically, had to stay focused on the mission. Every minute we delayed was a minute Silas gained on us. But I looked at her face and saw something I recognized. The same look Ruth used to get. The look that said no amount of logic would change her mind because some things were more important than survival. Some things were more important than strategy. Sometimes you just had to do what was right and trust that God or fate or whatever power runs this world would handle the rest. "All right," I said, "but we're fast, in and out." We followed the crying sound off the main path into a cluster of rocks that formed a natural shelter. Snow had drifted against the stones, creating a small cave barely visible unless you knew to look for it. And there, huddled against the back wall, shivering so hard I could hear her teeth chatter from 10 feet away, was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 9 years old. Thin as a rail, wearing nothing but a torn dress that might have once been blue and wooden shoes that had come apart at the seams. Her hands were blue with cold. Her face was streaked with tears that had frozen on her cheeks, creating tiny rivers of ice. Anna ran to her, wrapped her immediately in the wool coat I'd given her earlier. Didn't hesitate, didn't think, just moved. "Grace?" Anna gasped, pulling the child close. "Grace, is that you?" The girl looked up, eyes unfocused, lips barely able to form words. "Sister Anna?" "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here. You're safe now." I knelt beside them, already pulling more blankets from my pack. "You know this child?" "This is Grace Miller. She was at St. Catherine's, one of the orphans. Mother Constance sold her 3 weeks ago." Anna's voice broke. "I thought I thought she was dead. Grace clutched at Anna's sleeve with hands that could barely grip. They made me work, in the dark, digging coal. My hands hurt so bad. The other kids, some of them got sick. Some didn't wake up. So I ran. Waited till the foreman was drunk, and I ran. A coal mine. Mother Constance had sold this 9-year-old child to work in a coal mine. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Colder than the snow around us. Colder than any winter I'd ever known. This wasn't just corruption. This wasn't just greed. This was evil. Pure and simple. How long have you been out here? I asked gently, wrapping another blanket around her tiny frame. Don't know. Days, maybe. Tried to find the convent. Couldn't remember which way. Got lost. So cold. So hungry. She was burning with fever. I could feel the heat coming off her even through the cold air. Pneumonia, probably. Maybe worse. We need to get her warm, Anna said. Now, or she won't make it through the night. There's a cave about half a mile from here. I used it when I was trapping, years back. It's sheltered, dry. We can build a fire there without too much smoke. Can she walk? I looked at Grace's feet. The wooden shoes were held together with twine. Her toes were black with frostbite. No, I'll carry her. I lifted Grace carefully. She weighed almost nothing. A child this age should have weight, should have the healthy bulk of youth. This was just skin stretched over bird bones. This was what starvation looked like. We made it to the cave just as the snow started falling harder. Nature's way of covering our tracks, maybe, or just indifferent to human suffering like it always was. Inside, the cave was dry at least, protected from the wind. The ceiling was low, maybe 6 feet at the highest point, but it opened into a space large enough for the three of us in a small fire. I set Grace down gently on the driest patch of ground I could find. Anna was already gathering what little dry wood remained near the entrance, left over from my last visit here 2 winters ago. I got a small fire going. Had to be careful. Too much smoke and we'd give away our position to anyone searching. But without heat, Grace wouldn't survive till morning. The flames caught, small and bright. The wood popped and hissed. Warmth began to spread through the cave. Anna pulled herbs from the small leather pouch she'd taken from my cabin. Willow bark, yarrow, dried elderflower, and something else I didn't recognize. Where'd you learn herbalism? I asked, watching her work with practiced hands. St. Catherine's had an infirmary. Sister Margaret taught me everything she knew. Said medical knowledge was a form of prayer. That healing the body was as holy as healing the soul. She crushed the willow bark between 2 flat stones, mixing it with melted snow from my canteen. Made Grace drink it despite the child's protests about the bitter taste. For the fever, Anna explained, her voice taking on the calm authority of a healer. It'll take an hour or so to work, but it should bring her temperature down. The yarrow will help with any infection. She was right. Within an hour, Grace's violent shivers lessened. Her breathing, which had been shallow and rapid, evened out into something more natural. The fever broke, sweat beading on her forehead as her body finally began to heal. Grace fell into a deeper, more restful sleep. Anna sat back against the cave wall, exhausted. The firelight played across her face, highlighting the hollows under her eyes, the tension in her jaw. I handed her some of the dried venison from my pack. She ate mechanically, staring into the flames like they held answers to questions she hadn't asked yet. There are more, she said quietly after a long silence. More like Grace. I know. The ledger had 12 names, children sold to the mines near Whitewood. If Grace escaped, maybe others tried too. Maybe they're out there right now, lost, dying. Her voice cracked on the last word. We can't save them all at once, Anna. She turned to look at me, and I saw anger flash in her eyes. Why not? Because we'll get ourselves killed trying, and then we save no one. Then Mother Constance keeps selling children, and Silas keeps buying them, and the whole rotten system keeps turning. So we just leave them, let them die in the dark while we play legal games? No, we get the ledger. We take it to someone with real authority. We do this legal and proper so it sticks. So Mother Constance and Silas and everyone involved goes to prison or hangs. That's how we save all of them. Not just the ones we can reach today, but the ones who will come after. Legal takes time. They might not have time. I know. And I did. God help me, I knew. It was the hardest truth I'd learned as a marshal. Sometimes you had to let small evils continue so you could stop the bigger one. Sometimes justice was slow and people suffered while you built your case. Sometimes doing the right thing meant watching people hurt and not being able to help them yet. It never got easier, never got less heavy. Anna pulled her knees to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. When you were a marshal, how did you stand it? Knowing people needed help and having to wait, having to build cases while people bled? I was quiet for a long moment, watching Grace sleep, watching the fire burn down to coals, remembering all the times I'd made the same calculation Anna was making now. I didn't stand it well, I finally said. That's part of why I'm not a marshal anymore. The man you killed, the innocent one, tell me the whole story. I didn't talk about this, not to anyone. After Ruth died, there was no one left who knew, no one left who'd care. But something about this cave, this moment, this woman who'd been through hell and still had the strength to care about others, it made me want to tell the truth, made me want to be honest about my failures. His name was Daniel Garrett, I began, the words coming slow like pulling nails. Farmer, 30 years old, had a wife, sweet woman named Mary, and a little girl. Sarah was her name, 7 years old with blonde braids and her father's smile. I paused. The memory was sharp as broken glass, cutting even after all these years. We got word there was a gang hiding out in his area. The Brennan brothers, mean as snakes and twice as deadly. They'd been stealing livestock, burning barns, killing anyone who stood against them. We tracked them to Daniel's property. Anna listened without interrupting, just present, just there. When we rode up, Daniel came out of his house with a rifle, started yelling at us to leave, wouldn't let us search his property, wouldn't answer questions, just kept saying we had to go, had to leave him alone. I closed my eyes, seeing it all again. I thought he was one of them, thought he was protecting gang members hiding in his barn, so when he raised that rifle toward my partner, I drew faster. One shot, clean through the heart. He was dead before he hit the ground. His daughter saw. She was standing in the doorway behind him. I can still see her face clear as day. The way her mouth opened to scream, but no sound came out. The way she ran to her father's body. The way she tried to shake him awake, kept saying, "Papa, Papa," over and over. The way her mother came out and just collapsed right there in the dirt. My voice had gone rough. I cleared my throat, but it didn't help. Turns out the Brennan brothers had been threatening him for weeks. Told him if he talked to law, they'd kill his family, burn his house with them inside. He was trying to protect them, trying to keep his wife and daughter safe the only way he knew how. And I killed him for it. Anna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That wasn't your fault." Wasn't it? I made assumptions. Saw a man with a gun refusing to cooperate and jumped to conclusions. Didn't ask more questions. Didn't try harder to understand, just drew and fired. You were trying to do good, trying to stop bad men. Good intentions don't bring back the dead, sister. They don't unring that bell. They don't give Sarah Garrett her father back. Anna shifted closer. Not touching, but present in a way that mattered. No, but they matter anyway. Daniel Garrett's death was a tragedy, a horrible, unfair tragedy. But you saved how many other lives? How many criminals did you stop? How many families kept their fathers because of you? Doesn't balance. One innocent death outweighs 100 guilty ones caught. Does it? Or is that just pride talking? Pride thinking you should be perfect, that you should never make mistakes, that you're somehow more than human. I looked at her sharply. Ruth had said almost the exact same thing, used nearly those exact words. Anna continued, her voice softer now, but no less firm. You're human, Jacob. Humans fail. We make mistakes. We misjudge. We do our best, and sometimes our best isn't good enough. But what you do after you fail, that's what defines you. You could have kept being a marshal, told yourself it was justified, moved on to the next case. Instead, you quit. You punished yourself. You hid up in that mountain like you didn't deserve to live among people anymore. That's not honor, Jacob. That's cowardice. The words hit like a physical blow. No one had talked to me like this since Ruth died. No one had cared enough to be that honest. Ruth said something similar, I admitted, right before she got sick. We were arguing about whether I should go back to law work. She said I was wasting the life Daniel Garrett lost, said the best way to honor him was to keep fighting for people who needed it, to make his death mean something by saving others. She was right. Maybe, but knowing something's right and having the courage to do it are two different things. You're here now, with me, with Grace, risking everything to stop Mother Constance and Silas. Risking your freedom, your life, your peace, that's courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they look the same from the outside. Despite everything, I almost smiled. You sound like Ruth. Then she must have been a wise woman. The wisest I ever knew. Grace stirred in her sleep, murmured something we couldn't make out about darkness and digging, then settled again. Even in sleep, the mind haunted her. She'll need real care, Anna said, watching the child. Medical attention beyond what I can provide. Food, rest, time to heal both body and mind. We'll get her to Harper's Ferry. There's a U.S. Marshal there I trust more than anyone, Kate Brennan. She's tough as railroad spikes, fair as any judge, and she hates corruption like sin itself. She'll make sure Grace is protected. You trust her that much? With my life, with yours, with Grace's. Anna nodded, accepting that. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding thinking about. What happens after? After we get the ledger? After we take down Mother Constance and Silas? What happens to people like Grace, to all those children? They get a chance, that's all we can really give anyone. A chance to build something better than what they had. Is that enough? It's more than they have now, and sometimes more is all you can hope for. We sat in silence for a while. The fire burned lower. Outside, the storm intensified. Snow piled up at the cave entrance, sealing us in with walls of white that glowed faintly in the darkness. Eventually, exhaustion caught up with me. I dozed off, not deep sleep, but that half-aware state where you're resting but still ready to wake at the first sign of danger. I dreamed of Ruth, of the day we met at St. Catherine's 15 years ago when I was investigating a theft of silver candlesticks from the chapel. How she'd looked at me with those sharp, knowing eyes and said, "If you're looking for a thief, Marshal, look higher up than the orphans. The real crime here isn't stolen silver, it's stolen hope. Someone's taking from these children, but it's not candlesticks they're losing." And she'd been talking about Mother Constance even then, though I didn't know it, didn't understand. I was too focused on the small crime to see the bigger pattern. Ruth saw it, tried to fight it from inside the system. And when that didn't work, when Mother Constance's power became too absolute, Ruth left the convent entirely. Married me. Thought maybe that would protect the children she'd cared for. It hadn't, and that failure had eaten at her until the day she died. I woke to Anna shaking my shoulder urgently. "Jacob, someone's coming." I was up instantly, rifle in hand, all traces of sleep gone. "How many?" I heard horses, at least 3, maybe more, moving slow but steady, searching. I moved to the cave entrance, peered carefully through the gap in the piled snow. Dawn was breaking, gray light filtering through heavy clouds. The world was that strange twilight color, where everything looks flat and unreal. And there, maybe 200 yards down the slope, moving through the trees in a loose search pattern, I saw them. 6 riders, all armed. One of them had to be Silas. I recognized his massive frame even at this distance. The man was built like a bear, all shoulders and rage. "They tracked us," Anna whispered from behind me. "The dead horse probably, or the gunshot. Maybe both. Doesn't matter now." "What do we do if they find this cave?" "They won't. There's another way out." I turned back to the cave's interior. At the back, narrow passage carved by water years ago, leads down to a ravine about a quarter mile from here. It's tight, but we can make it. And them? They'll search this cave eventually. When they don't find us, they'll assume we kept moving. Gives us maybe an hour head start. That's not much time. It'll have to do. We move now, stay quiet, and trust that Gus or luck or whatever's watching over fools like us keeps us ahead of them. We woke Grace as gently as we could. She was stronger now, the fever broken but still weak. Too weak to walk far on her own. I lifted her onto my back. She weighed so little it was heartbreaking. Hold on tight, Grace. We're going on an adventure. I don't like adventures anymore, she whispered. I know, sweetheart, but this one ends with you being safe. I promise. Anna led the way with my knife drawn, cutting through cobwebs and clearing the path through the narrow passage at the back of the cave. The passage was barely wide enough for my shoulders. Twice I had to exhale completely and turn sideways just to squeeze through. Grace whimpered once when stones scraped her leg, but she didn't cry out. Brave kid, braver than most adults I'd known. We emerged into the ravine just as full morning light broke through the clouds. A frozen stream bed stretched before us with steep walls on both sides rising 30 feet high. The sky above was a thin strip of gray between white cliffs. Which way? Anna asked, scanning both directions. Downstream, toward Harper's Ferry. It'll add time to our journey, but it's safer than any main path. And we need to get Grace to Marshal Brennan. We walked for hours through that ravine. My horse was gone, left near the cave entrance where Silas would eventually find it. But that was fine. We needed to travel light and quiet now. Needed to be ghosts. Grace tried to walk on her own after the first hour, insisted on it actually, but she couldn't manage more than a few minutes at a time before her legs gave out. I carried her mostly. Anna walked ahead, watching for dangers I might miss while focused on the child. Around midday we heard it, faint but unmistakable. Church bells. Town ahead, I said. Has to be Harper's Ferry. But as we got closer, climbing out of the ravine and onto higher ground where we could see the valley below, I felt that old lawman's instinct kick in. Something was wrong. The bells were ringing too fast, too urgent, too panicked. That wasn't the call to Sunday service. That wasn't marking the hour. That was an alarm. We crested a small hill and looked down on Harper's Ferry spread out below us. Smoke rose from several buildings. People ran through the streets in obvious panic. And in the center of town, clear as day, even from this distance, I saw horses. Armed men on horseback. Too many of them. Silas got here first, Anna breathed. How? We left him behind in the pass. He must have split his forces, sent some after us, while others came ahead to cut off our escape. Smart, ruthless, but smart. I watched the chaos below, my mind working through possibilities, and none of them good. I saw townspeople being herded toward the church. Saw Silas's men going door to door, kicking them open, searching. They were looking for us, and they were willing to tear apart the whole town to find us. We can't go down there, Anna said, reaching the same conclusion. If we do, innocent people will get hurt. Killed, maybe. She was right, but we needed Marshal Kate Brennan, needed her authority, her resources, her ability to call in federal help and make arrests that would actually stick. There's another way in, I said, thinking fast. Old Service Road behind the church runs along the creek. Kate's office is attached to the courthouse there. If we can reach her without being seen, that's a very big if. You have a better plan? Anna looked at Grace sleeping in my arms, then at the town below, then back at me. We split up. You take Grace to Kate, tell her what's happening. I'll create a distraction on the other side of town. Draw Silas's men away from the courthouse. Absolutely not. Jacob, they're looking for a nun and a mountain man traveling together with a child. If we split up, we're harder to identify, harder to track. You'll get caught. Maybe. But Grace needs help now, and Kate needs to know what's happening. That's more important than my safety. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell her it was foolish, reckless, that she'd just escaped slavery and now wanted to walk right back into danger. That Ruth would have done the exact same thing, which is why these kinds of plans drove me absolutely crazy. But I looked at Grace's pale face and Anna's determined expression, and I knew she was right. What kind of distraction? I asked. Anna smiled, and there was something dangerous in it, something that reminded me she wasn't just a victim. She was a survivor, and survivors learn how to fight back. The kind Mother Constance taught us, she said, fire and brimstone, righteous fury, and a little bit of chaos. 30 minutes later, I watched from the hillside as Anna walked boldly into Harper's Ferry's main street. She'd changed her appearance fast and efficiently, taken a dress and bonnet from a clothesline outside town. Dirt smudged on her face, hair tucked up under the bonnet, She looked nothing like a nun now, just another working woman going about her day. She carried a basket of laundry, stolen from the same line, played the part perfectly. I held Grace close, both of us hidden in thick brush on the hillside, watching as Anna made her way down the street. One of Silas's men stopped her about halfway. I saw him grab her arm roughly, saw her pull back, startled and afraid. The basket spilled, clean laundry scattered across the muddy street. Anna bent down to pick it up. The man stood over her, saying something I couldn't hear from this distance. Anna responded, gesturing, apologizing by the look of it. Playing the part of a simple woman caught up in something she didn't understand. The man lost interest and moved on, too busy with his search to bother with what looked like a frightened laundress. Anna gathered her washing and continued toward the warehouse district. Near the lumberyard, where stacks of cut timber rose like wooden mountains, where dry wood and sawdust and turpentine created a perfect recipe for disaster. I saw her set down the basket, look around carefully, then pull something from inside her dress. Matches. "That's my girl," I whispered. The fire started small, just a corner of one lumber pile smoking. But lumber yards are tinderboxes waiting for a spark. Within 2 minutes, flames were climbing. Within 5, the whole yard was ablaze, sending thick black smoke into the gray sky. Chaos erupted. Silas's men ran toward the fire. Townspeople ran away from it. In the confusion, no one was watching the streets anymore. No one was guarding the courthouse. I picked up Grace and moved fast, staying low, using buildings and smoke as cover. Made it to the back of the church complex, found the side door to the marshal's office. Didn't bother knocking. Kicked it open. Marshal Kate Brennan was inside, loading rifles with quick, practiced efficiency. She spun around, pistol drawn faster than most men could blink, then lowered it when she saw me. "Bear," she said, not looking up from the rifle she was loading. "Figured you'd be in the middle of this mess. You have a knack for finding trouble." "Kate, we need help, badly." She saw Grace in my arms, and her expression shifted instantly from amused to deadly serious. "What happened to this child?" Long story, short version. Mother Constance Gray at St. Catherine's Convent has been selling children to coal mines and labor camps. Grace here escaped. There are more still trapped. We have proof, but it's incomplete. We need that ledger from the convent. I set Grace down gently in a chair. Kate knelt in front of her, examining her with the efficiency of someone who'd seen too much suffering in her career. "How many children?" Kate asked. "At least 30 that we know of, probably more over the years." Well, Kate's jaw tightened. "And the proof you mentioned?" I pulled out the paper Silas had signed. Bill of sale for Sister Anna Clare. Human trafficking, Silas Crow's signature. 40 witnesses in Whitewood. Kate read it quickly, her expression darkening with each word. "This is good, solid evidence, but you're right. One transaction doesn't prove a pattern. We need more. There's a ledger at the convent, hidden in Mother Constance's office. It has everything. Names, dates, prices, buyers, 2 years of transactions. And Sister Anna Clare, the woman named on this paper, she's the one who discovered the ledger. She's outside right now, created that fire to cover my approach." Kate crossed to the window, looked out at the burning lumber yard and the chaos it had created. She actually laughed. "The nun set that fire?" "Like I said, long story. I like her already." Kate turned back to me. "Here's our situation. Silas has 15, maybe 20 men in town. They're terrorizing civilians, searching every building, making threats. That gives me federal jurisdiction. I can arrest him and every man riding with him right now for assault on a federal town. He'll fight. Good. I'm tired of men like Silas Crow thinking they're above the law. Tired of corruption hiding behind respectability." She buckled on her gun belt, checked both pistols. "Here's what we're going to do. My deputies will round up every able-bodied citizen willing to stand with us. We make this Silas's problem, not ours. We show him that good people outnumber bad when they finally get angry enough to act." The door burst open. Anna stood there, covered in soot and ash, breathing hard, eyes bright with adrenaline, but very much alive. "Sorry I'm late," she said. "Had to make sure the fire really took. Didn't want Silas putting it out too quickly." Kate looked between us, then at Grace, Then back to Anna. You three are either brilliant or completely insane. Can it be both? Anna asked with a slight smile. Kate actually laughed again, a real laugh this time. Sister, I definitely like you, all right? Here's the situation as I see it. She laid out her plan quickly and efficiently. Call a town meeting, get everyone in one place, lay out the truth about what Mother Constance and Silas had been doing. Give people a choice, stand with justice or stand aside. Some will side with Silas, I warned. Fear is a powerful motivator. He's got money, connections, the willingness to hurt people who oppose him. So is anger, Kate countered, and there's nothing that makes decent people the angrier than hurting children. Trust me, I've been doing this job for 20 years. When you show people the truth about evil done to innocents, they act. They might be scared, but they act anyway. Within the hour, word had spread through deputies and trusted citizens. Town meeting at the church, mandatory attendance. Anyone who didn't show would be considered an accomplice. By the time the church bells rang again, this time calling people to assembly rather than warning of danger, nearly 200 people had gathered. Farmers with dirt under their fingernails, shopkeepers with ink-stained hands, blacksmiths still wearing leather aprons, washerwomen with raw, reddened hands, the honest working backbone of Harper's Ferry, and at the back, arms crossed and faces hard, stood Silas and a dozen of his men, daring anyone to speak against them. Kate stood at the pulpit, badge gleaming in the afternoon light streaming through the stained glass windows. Folks, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the packed church, I'm going to tell you something that's hard to hear. Something that'll make you angry. Something that should make you angry. The crowd murmured, uncertain. For years, maybe longer, there's been evil operating in our territory. Evil hiding behind respectability, behind religion, behind the very institutions we're taught to trust. The murmuring grew louder. Silas shifted his weight, hand moving subtly toward his gun. Kate continued, unbothered by the movement. Mother Constance Gray, Mother Superior of St. Catherine's Convent, has been selling children. Orphans placed in her care by families who died, by parents who couldn't feed them, by communities who trusted the church to protect the vulnerable. She sold them like livestock, to coal mines, to lumber camps, to anyone who'd pay her price. The crowd erupted, voices raised in shock and anger and disbelief. That's a damned lie, Silas shouted from the back. This woman's delusional, making up stories. There's no proof of any of this. Kate looked at him with cold contempt. There's plenty of proof, Mr. Crow, starting with this. She held up the paper with his signature. Bill of sale for a human being, Sister Anna Claire. Sold by you for $1, signed by you. Witnessed by 40 men in Whitewood 3 days ago. Silas's face went from red to white in an instant. And there's more, Kate said, turning back to the crowd. Sister Anna Claire, formerly of St. Catherine's, discovered a ledger, a record of every transaction, every child sold, every price paid. She's here today, willing to testify to what she saw. Anna stepped forward. She still wore the soot-stained dress, still looked small and fragile. But when she spoke, her voice carried like thunder. I grew up in that convent, she began. I loved it. Loved the sisters, loved the work we did, loved the children that we cared for. For years, it was a true sanctuary, a place where the lost found family. She paused, gathering strength. But 2 years ago, things changed. Mother Constance started making children disappear. She'd tell us they'd been adopted, found good families. We wanted to believe her. We needed to believe her, because the alternative was too horrible to contemplate. Tears streamed down Anna's face, but her voice never wavered. Then 3 months ago, I was cleaning Mother Constance's office. I found a ledger hidden behind a painting of the Virgin Mary, and I read it. Grace Miller, 9 years old, sold for $25 to Black Ridge Coal Mine. Thomas Reed, 11, sold for $30 to Timber Ridge Camp. Sarah Finn. A woman in the crowd gasped audibly and stood up. Mrs. Elizabeth Finn, the woman who ran the general store. Her face had gone absolutely white. Sarah Finn is my daughter, she said, her voice breaking. Mother Constance told me she'd been adopted by a good family in Charleston. Told me Sarah was happy. Told me she'd write when she got settled. Mrs. Finn's voice rose, edged with a mother's anguish. You're telling me she was sold? That my baby girl was sold like property? Anna looked at her with such deep compassion it hurt to witness. Yes, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Your daughter's name was in that ledger. $5. Sold to a textile mill. Mrs. Finn sat down hard, like her legs had given out. Her husband caught her, held her while she wept. Around them, other people were standing now, demanding answers, demanding justice, demanding to know if their children, their nieces, their nephews, their neighbors' kids had been among the sold. Silas tried to push toward the door. Kate's deputies blocked his path. You're under arrest, Kate said clearly. Human trafficking, conspiracy, assault on a federal officer. You're done, Silas. Finished. You have no authority, Silas snarled, but there was fear in his eyes now. Real fear. I have lawyers, connections, money. You can't touch me. I have the law, Kate said simply, which beats money every single time when good people finally decide to enforce it. She turned to address the crowd once more. I can arrest Silas Crow and every man who rode with him. I can shut down his operations. I can start investigations, but I need help. Mother Constance is still free. That ledger is still at St. Catherine's. Without it, a clever lawyer might get Silas released, might get Mother Constance off entirely, and those children stay in the mines and the camps and the mills. Silence fell over the church. Heavy, weighted. Then Mrs. Finn stood again. Her face was wet with tears, but her voice was steel. I'll help, whatever you need, Marshal, whatever it takes. Her husband stood beside her. Both of us will do whatever's necessary. A farmer near the front stood. My nephew works in those mines. If there's children down there suffering, I'm getting them out, today. One by one, people stood. 30, 40, 60, 100. Until nearly the entire church was standing. United, angry, ready to act. Silas looked around at the sea of faces and finally understood. He'd lost. His money meant nothing. His threats meant nothing. His violence meant nothing against this many people who'd finally seen the truth and decided to care. Kate smiled grimly. Looks like you're outvoted, Mr. Crow. Democracy's a beautiful thing, isn't it? The arrests happened quickly. Kate and her 6 deputies had Silas and his remaining men in chains within minutes. The town organized itself with surprising speed. Groups formed immediately, some to search for more evidence in Silas's properties, some to ride to the mines and camps and demand the children be released, some to guard the prisoners against any rescue attempt, and some, the strongest and most determined, to ride with us to St. Catherine's convent to get that ledger and arrest Mother Constance. As the sun set, painting the sky blood red and gold, I found Anna standing outside the church watching all the activity. You did good today, I said quietly. We did good. Together. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Still, standing up there, telling your story in front of 200 people. That took real courage. Or desperation. Or stupidity. I smiled slightly. Sometimes they all look the same. She turned to face me. What happens now? Now we finish it. We ride to St. Catherine's tomorrow at first light. We get that ledger. We make absolutely certain Mother Constance can never hurt another child. She won't surrender quietly. She's had power too long to give it up without a fight. Good, I'm tired of talking anyway. Kate approached with 2 fresh horses and a pack of supplies. Figured you'd need these. Riley's taking care of Grace. Doc Morrison says she'll make a full recovery. Tough kid. Tougher than most adults I've known. How is she? Anna asked with obvious concern. Stronger already. Asking about you, actually. Wants to know if you're really coming back. Kate smiled. I told her you were. Told her sister Anna keeps her promises. Anna's eyes filled with tears. I will come back. When this is done, I'm rebuilding St. Catherine's into what it should have been. A real home. A real sanctuary. Good, Bob, Kate said. World needs more people willing to fix what's broken instead of just walking away. She turned to me. We ride at dawn. I'm bringing 8 deputies and 20 volunteers from town. Should be more than enough to handle whatever Mother Constance has waiting. She'll know we're coming, I warned. Silas had time to send word before we caught him. Let her know. Let her be afraid. Let her understand what's coming for her. She's earned every bit of fear she feels. That night, we stayed at the boarding house Kate had secured, separate rooms, proper and respectable. But sleep wouldn't come. I kept thinking about tomorrow, about facing the place Ruth had loved, the place she'd tried to save from the inside, the place that had ultimately killed her, though not in any way that would show up in a coroner's report. Around midnight, I heard a soft knock on my door. Anna stood there in a borrowed nightgown, looking young and frightened and determined all at once. "Can't sleep either?" I asked. She shook her head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them. All those children, still trapped, still suffering, still waiting for someone to save them. We'll save them. Tomorrow. But what if we're too late? What if, Anna, stop. We're doing everything we can, everything humanly possible. The rest is up to Ki or fate or whatever power runs this world." She leaned against the doorframe. "Tomorrow when we face her, Mother Constance, I'm going to have to see her again. Look her in the eye, and I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That I'll want revenge instead of justice. That I'll want to hurt her the way she hurt those children. That I'll want to make her suffer." I understood that feeling. Had wrestled with it myself since learning what Mother Constance had done while Ruth was dying, trying to save the very children being sold. "You know what Ruth told me once?" I said. "She said the difference between revenge and justice is who benefits. Revenge makes you feel better for a moment. Justice makes the world better forever. So when you are facing Mother Constance tomorrow, ask yourself, what makes the world better? Your satisfaction or her punishment under law?" Anna was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Thank you, Jacob, for everything, for saving me, for believing me, for helping me become more than just a victim. Thank me when it's over. No, I thank you now because tomorrow's not promised. And I want you to know that meeting you, even in the worst moment of my life, was a gift. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever." "What's that?" "Faith, not just in God, though that too. Faith in people. Faith that there's still good in this world worth fighting for. Faith that one person can make a difference." She turned to go back to her room, paused at the threshold, looked back. "Jacob, when this is over, when Mother Constance is in prison and the children are safe and justice has been served, what will you do? Will you go back to your mountain?" I thought about my cabin, about 3 years of silence and solitude, about hiding from a world that had disappointed me, about punishing myself for failures that couldn't be undone. "I don't know," I admitted. "What about you?" "I think I'll stay. At St. Catherine's, I mean. Help rebuild it into what it was supposed to be from the beginning. A true sanctuary, a real home for children who have nowhere else. Maybe I can make Ruth's dream real." "That's good work, important work. Someone has to do it. Might as well be someone who knows exactly how broken it was. Someone who knows what not to do." She smiled then, soft and sad and hopeful, all mixed together in a way that reminded me so much of Ruth it hurt. "Good night, Jacob. Good night, Anna." I closed the door and lay back on the bed. This time, somehow, sleep came easier. Tomorrow we'd face Mother Constance. Tomorrow we'd end this nightmare. But tonight, just for these few hours, I let myself believe that maybe we were making the world a little bit better. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Dawn broke cold and clear over Harper's Ferry, the kind of morning where every breath creates clouds and the frost on the windows looks like angels' wings. Beautiful and deadly all at once. I stood outside the boarding house, checking my rifle for the third time. Old habit from my martial days. Check your weapons, check your supplies, check your resolve. Because once you ride out, there's no turning back. Kate emerged from the courthouse with her deputies. 8 men, all seasoned lawmen with hard eyes and harder reputations. Behind them came the volunteers. 20 townspeople who decided that watching evil happen was the same as participating in it. Mrs. Finn was among them. Her husband tried to stop her, but she shook him off. "My daughter's out there somewhere," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm bringing her home, or I'm dying trying. Those are the only 2 options I'm willing to accept." No one argued with her after that. Anna came out wearing borrowed riding clothes, practical wool pants, a heavy coat, boots that actually fit. Her hair was tied back in a simple braid. She looked nothing like the terrified woman I'd bought for $1 4 days ago. She looked like someone ready for war. "You ready for this?" I asked quietly. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." That's the definition of courage. Or stubbornness. Ruth probably had both, in equal measure. Kate gathered everyone in the street, her voice carried in the cold morning air. "Listen up. We're riding to Catherine's convent. Our mission is simple. Arrest Mother Constance Gray, secure the ledger containing evidence of child trafficking, and ensure no one destroys that evidence. We do this by the book. Legal, proper, so it sticks in court." She paused, making eye contact with each person. "But make no mistake, Mother Constance won't surrender easily. She's had power for too long. She'll have allies, maybe hired guns, maybe corrupt officials. We might face resistance. If we do, we meet it with appropriate force, but only appropriate force. We're lawmen and citizens, not a lynch mob. Everyone clear?" A chorus of agreement. "Good. We ride in formation. Deputies up front, volunteers in the middle. Bear, you and Sister Anna ride with me at the lead. You know this woman. You know the layout. We'll need that knowledge." We mounted up. 29 riders in total, not an army, but maybe enough. As we rode out of Harper's Ferry, people lined the streets, watching. Some waved, some prayed. Some just stood silent, bearing witness to something they hoped would matter. Grace was there, standing with the doctor's wife, her hand raised in a small wave. Anna waved back, and I saw her wipe away tears. "We're coming back," Anna called to Tim. "I promise." "I know," Grace called back. "You keep your promises." The ride to St. Catherine's took 6 hours. We pushed the horses hard but not cruel. Couldn't afford to arrive on exhausted mounts. The landscape changed as we climbed into the mountains. The forest grew denser. The air grew colder. The silence grew heavier. This was Ruth's country. She'd grown up in these mountains, knew every trail, every stream, every hidden hollow. When she married me and left the convent, she used to say she was taking the mountains with her, that they were in her blood and bones and couldn't be left behind even if she wanted to. I understood that now. Around noon, we stopped to rest the horses and eat. Cold food, dried meat, and hard bread. No fires. Didn't want to announce our approach. Anna sat beside me on a fallen log, eating mechanically. "Tell me about the layout," Kate said, joining us. "I need to know what we're walking into." Anna pulled out a piece of paper and sketched quickly. She had a good hand, precise and clear. "The convent is built around a central courtyard, main chapel here facing east. Living quarters for the sisters on the north side. Orphanage dormitories on the south. Mother Constance's office is in the administrative building on the west side, second floor, corner room." She marked an X on the sketch. "The ledger is in her office, hidden behind a painting of the Virgin Mary. There's a false wall. The painting swings out on hinges. The ledger is in a locked metal box behind it." "Security?" Kate asked. "Used to be just one groundskeeper. Old man named Thomas, harmless. But if Mother Constance knows we're coming, she might have hired protection." "How many ways in?" "4 main gates. North, south, east, west. The east gate is the formal entrance, always locked at night. The west gate leads to the kitchen gardens, usually open during the day. North and south gates are for deliveries, locked unless wagons are coming." "Secret ways in?" Anna hesitated. "There's a drainage culvert under the north wall. Opens into the root cellar beneath the kitchen. Sister Margaret and I used to sneak out that way when we were novices, to see the stars without the abbess knowing." Kate smiled slightly. "Even nuns break rules, especially young ones. Could we fit through this culvert?" "One at a time. It's tight, but yes." Kate studied the sketch. "Here's what we do. Main force comes in the front gate. Loud. Official. Demands entry and presence arrest warrant. While Mother Constance is focused on that, a smaller team goes through the culvert, secures the ledger before she can destroy it." "I'll go through the culvert," Anna said immediately. "Anna, that's too dangerous," I started. "I know the layout. I know where the ledger is exactly. I can get it faster than anyone else." "She's right," Kate said, "but she doesn't go alone. Bear, you go with her. 2 others as backup. The rest of us make noise at the front. I wanted to argue, wanted to keep Anna away from danger, but she was looking at me with those determined eyes and I knew there was no point. Fine, but we do this smart. No heroics, we get the ledger and get out. Agreed. We reached the ridge overlooking St. Catherine's as the sun was setting. The convent sat in a valley below, stone walls glowing golden in the fading light. From this distance, it looked peaceful, holy, like the sanctuary it was supposed to be. But I knew better now. Knew that evil doesn't always announce itself with darkness and thunder. Sometimes it wears white robes and speaks in gentle tones and hides behind crosses. There, Anna whispered, pointing. Smoke from 3 chimneys. Main hall, kitchen, and Mother Constance's private quarters. That means she's here. Kate raised her spyglass. I see movement. Guards on the walls. At least 4, armed with rifles. She's definitely expecting trouble. How do we handle them? Carefully. We're not here to start a war. We announce ourselves. Give her a chance to surrender. If she refuses, or if her guards open fire, then we respond. We waited until full dark. No moon tonight, just stars and the dim glow of lamps from within the convent walls. Kate split us into 2 groups. She took 23 riders to the main gate. I took Anna and 2 deputies, Johnson and Martinez, young men but steady, through the forest toward the north wall. As we separated, Kate gripped my shoulder. Get that ledger, Bear. Whatever it takes, that's the key to everything. I know. And keep the sister safe, I like her. World needs more people like her. I'll do my best. Your best is usually good enough. We moved through the forest like ghosts. Anna led the way, sure-footed even in darkness. She knew these woods from childhood. The north wall loomed up, 15 feet of mortared stone topped with iron spikes, meant to keep the world out, or maybe to keep the residents in. There, Anna whispered, pointing to a dark opening near the base of the wall. The drainage culvert, barely 3 feet wide, maybe 2 feet tall. We'd have to crawl. I went first, on my belly, rifle strapped to my back, pulling myself forward with my elbows. The culvert smelled of old water and rot and something else. Fear, maybe, or just my imagination working overtime. After 20 feet that felt like 20 miles, I emerged into the root cellar. Dark, cold, shelves lined with jars of preserved vegetables and salted meat. A door at the far end, presumably leading to the kitchen. Anna came through next, then Johnson, then Martinez. All of us breathing hard, covered in mud and worse. Now what? Johnson whispered. Anna pointed up. Stairs behind that door lead to the kitchen. From there, servants' hallway to the main building. Mother Constance's office is on the 2nd floor. Guards? There shouldn't be any inside, but I can't be certain. I checked my pistol. We move quiet. Anyone we meet, we detain. Don't hurt unless we have to. The goal is the ledger, nothing else. We moved up the stairs. The door was unlocked. Opened into the kitchen, dark and empty. Embers glowed in the large fireplace, providing just enough light to see by. Anna led us through. She moved with certainty, muscle memory guiding her through a space she'd navigated thousands of times. The servants' hallway was narrow and plain. None of the religious artwork that decorated the public spaces. Just bare stone and worn wood. We reached the main building without incident, started up the stairs to the 2nd floor. That's when we heard it. Voices coming from above. We froze. Mother Constance's voice, cold and imperious. I don't care what it costs. Burn it. Burn all of it. The ledger, the correspondence, everything. By morning, there should be no evidence I was ever involved in anything improper. Another voice, male, rough. What about the federal marshal? She's at the gate right now with 30 men. Let her wait. By the time they break through, everything will be ash. And I'll be the grieving Mother Superior whose orphanage tragically burned while she tried to save the children. My blood went cold. Anna's face had gone white. She's going to burn the evidence, Anna whispered, and blame us for it. Not if we get there first. We move faster now, caution sacrificed for speed. Up the stairs, down the hallway, toward the corner office where lamplight spilled under the door. I kicked it open. Mother Constance stood by her desk, holding the ledger. A small brazier burned beside her, flames already consuming papers. She was dressed in full formal habit, every inch the pious leader. But her eyes were cold and calculating and completely void of anything resembling grace. "Sister Anna," she said calmly, "I wondered if you'd be foolish enough to return." "Put down the ledger," I said, rifle aimed at her chest. "Or what? You'll shoot an unarmed woman of God? In her own office? That will look wonderful at your trial, Mr. McAllister." "Put it down, now." Mother Constance smiled. It was the cruelest expression I'd ever seen on a human face. "You self-righteous fools. You think you're saving children? You're condemning them. Those mines, those camps, those mills, they put food in bellies and roofs over heads. I gave those orphans purpose, work, a reason to exist. What would you have me do? Keep them here to starve, to die of disease, to grow up useless and unwanted?" "You sold them like property," Anna said, her voice shaking with rage. "For money, for your gambling debts, for your own greed. I did what was necessary to keep this institution running. The church provides no funding. The community provides no support. I had to be resourceful." "You're a monster." Mother Constance's expression hardened. "I'm a pragmatist. Something you never had the stomach for, Anna. You always were too soft, too sentimental. That's why I chose you to sell. At least you'd fetch a decent price with your looks and education." Anna lunged forward. I caught her arm, held her back. "Don't," I said quietly. "She wants you angry, wants you to do something stupid. Don't give her the satisfaction." Mother Constance moved toward the brazier, ledger in hand. "I think we're done here. Officers, arrest these intruders for trespassing and assault." Two large men emerged from the shadows behind us, hired muscle by the look of them. Johnson and Martinez turned to face them. I kept my rifle on Mother Constance. "Drop the ledger," I repeated. She held it over the flames. "One movement and 30 children's last chance at justice becomes ash." "Standoff," then Anna spoke, her voice calm now, deadly calm. "Reverend Samuel wrote letters, you know, to the diocese, to Rome, documenting his suspicions about you. They're in a safe deposit box in Charleston, to be opened if anything happens to him." Mother Constance hesitated. "And Sister Margaret kept her own records," Anna continued. "Every child who disappeared, every family you lied to, every time you claimed adoption when you really meant sale. She's been documenting your crimes for 2 years. That evidence is already with Marshal Brennan." I didn't know if Anna was bluffing or telling the truth, but it was brilliant either way. Mother Constance's hand wavered, just slightly. "You're lying." "Am I? You taught us yourself, Mother. Always keep backups, always have insurance. Did you really think we'd put all our faith in one ledger?" The moment of hesitation was all I needed. I fired, not at Mother Constance, at the brazier. The shot went through the metal, tipping it over, spilling burning coals across the stone floor. Mother Constance jumped back with a shriek. Anna darted forward, grabbed the ledger from her hands. The hired muscle moved. Johnson and Martinez met them. The fight was brief and brutal. These were young deputies who'd grown up working farms, built strong from hard labor. The hired guns were city men, soft from easy living. It was over in less than a minute. I kept my rifle trained on Mother Constance. "You're under arrest, human trafficking, fraud, conspiracy, child endangerment. You want me to keep going?" She drew herself up, trying to maintain dignity. "You have no authority here. This is church property. You're trespassing. Federal marshal outside with a warrant says different. I have connections, lawyers, powerful friends who'll see you destroyed for this. Maybe, but you're still going to prison first, and that's enough for me." Anna stepped closer, holding the ledger like a shield. "You took everything from us. Our innocence, our trust, our childhood. You took children who had nothing and sold them for profit, and you did it wearing the cross, claiming to speak for God." Mother Constance sneered. "Spare me the sermon, girl. You know nothing about the real world, nothing about hard choices, nothing about what it takes to survive. I know more than you think. I survived you. That's all the education I needed." We heard it then, shouting from outside, the main gates opening. Kate and her forces had made it through. Within minutes, the office was full of people. Kate, her deputies, several volunteers, including Mrs. Finn. Kate took one look at the scene and nodded approvingly. Got the ledger? Anna held it up. Then my work here is easy. Kate turned to Mother Constance. Mother Constance Gray, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent, though I doubt you will. You'll be transported to federal custody in Charleston to await trial. This is outrageous. I demand to speak with my lawyer. You'll get that chance, right after we inventory every piece of evidence in this office. It took 3 hours to process everything. The ledger was just the beginning. We found letters, contracts, bank statements. Mother Constance had kept meticulous records of her crimes, probably never believing anyone would dare look. Her arrogance had created the very evidence that would convict her. As dawn broke, we let her out in chains. The other sisters watched from windows, some crying, some angry, some just shocked. The world they'd believed in had been a lie. Sister Margaret was there. She ran to Anna, embraced her. I'm so sorry, Margaret sobbed. I should have done more. Should have stopped her. You did what you could, Anna said gently. We all did. Now we make sure it never happens again. The ride back to Harper's Ferry took most of the day. Mother Constance rode in a prison wagon, silent and cold. Silas was already in custody there. Soon they'd both face a judge and jury. But we weren't finished yet. Kate had sent riders to every mine and mill and camp on the list from the ledger. Federal marshals were raiding them, freeing the children, arresting the overseers who'd knowingly worked enslaved miners. It would take weeks to sort out. Months, maybe, finding families, placing children, ensuring they were safe. But it was happening. The machine was finally being dismantled. When we rode into Harper's Ferry 3 days after we'd left, the town turned out to greet us. News had spread fast about the arrests, about the rescued children, about justice finally being served. Grace was there, standing with Doc Morrison's wife. When she saw Anna, she broke free and ran. Anna dismounted and caught her, lifting her up, spinning her around, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. You came back, Grace said. I promised, didn't I? Are they all safe now? All the other kids? They will be. It'll take time, but they will be. Mrs. Finn approached slowly. Kate was with her. We found her, Kate said quietly. Sarah, your daughter. She was at a textile mill in Grafton. 11 years old now. Doesn't remember much about her life before. But she's alive. She's safe, and she's asking for her mother. Mrs. Finn collapsed, just her knees giving out, her husband catching her, both of them weeping with relief and joy and grief for all the lost years. Thank you, she managed to say. Thank you. Anna knelt beside him. No thanks needed. This is what we should have been doing all along. The weeks between Mother Constance's arrest and the trial were a blur of activity. Kate coordinated raids on every location in the ledger. Federal marshals from 3 states descended on mines, mills, and camps. Some owners surrendered peacefully. Others fought. 2 overseers were killed resisting arrest. 3 more fled and were still being hunted. The children came in waves. 12 from Black Ridge Mine, 8 from Timber Ridge Camp, 15 from various mills and factories. Each one needed medical care, counseling, placement. Doc Morrison worked around the clock. The church opened its doors. Families volunteered to foster. Anna spent those weeks helping coordinate care while preparing to testify. She wrote her testimony 17 times, each draft getting clearer, more focused. I helped Kate track down witnesses, traveled with her to interview families, gathered evidence, built the case brick by brick. By the time the trial began, we had documents 3 feet high, testimony from 47 witnesses, physical evidence from a dozen locations. It was airtight, unbreakable, the kind of case prosecutors dream about. The trial happened 6 weeks later, federal court in Charleston, Judge Marcus Whitmore presiding, a man known for his fairness and his intolerance for corruption. The courtroom was packed. Victims, families, reporters from newspapers as far as New York and Boston. This case had captured the nation's attention. Mother Constance sat at the defense table in civilian clothes, the habit stripped from her by church authorities. She looked smaller somehow, less imposing, just an old woman facing consequences for the first time in her life. Silas sat at a separate table. His lawyers had tried to get a separate trial, but the judge denied it. These crimes were connected. The perpetrators would face justice together. The prosecution presented their case over 3 days. The ledger, the witnesses, the bank records, the testimony of rescued children, painful and heartbreaking. Grace testified, standing on a box so she could reach the microphone, speaking in a clear voice about the darkness of the mine, the endless hours of work, the children who died and were buried in unmarked graves. Sarah Finn testified, reunited with her mother but carrying scars that would take years to heal. A boy named Thomas, a girl named Rebecca, on and on. 23 children in total, each one telling their truth. Anna testified last. She walked the jury through finding the ledger, being sold, escaping, fighting back. When the defense tried to question her credibility, Kate stood up. Your Honor, Sister Anna Claire risked her life multiple times to bring this evidence to light. She had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Her credibility is beyond question. The judge agreed. The defense's case was weak. They tried to claim Mother Constance was misunderstood, that she was finding work placements, not selling children. They tried to claim Silas was just a labor broker, nothing illegal. The jury didn't buy it. Deliberation took 4 hours. The verdict was unanimous. Mother Constance Gray, guilty on all counts, sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. Silas Crow, guilty on all counts, sentenced to death by hanging. Deputy Warren Hicks, who'd cooperated and testified against both of them, received a reduced sentence of 10 years. When the judge read the sentences, Mother Constance showed no emotion, just sat there cold and still, like a statue of everything wrong with unchecked power. Silas screamed and had to be dragged from the courtroom, but it was over. Justice, imperfect and slow as always, had finally been served. A week after the sentencing, Anna asked Kate for permission to visit Mother Constance in the federal prison. You sure about this? Kate asked. I need to, Anna said simply. I went with her, not inside the visiting room, but close enough, waiting. Through the glass, I watched Anna sit across from Mother Constance. The old woman looked diminished in prison gray, stripped of the habit that had given her authority. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Anna spoke. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw Mother Constance's face change. Confusion, then anger, then something that might have been shame. When Anna emerged 20 minutes later, her eyes were red but clear. What did you say to her? I asked as we walked to the wagon. I told her I forgave her. I stopped walking. Why? Anna looked up at the sky, at clouds moving fast across blue. Because holding hatred would make me like her, and I refused to let her take my soul twice. She took my freedom once. I won't let her take my peace. What did she say? She cried. First time I've ever seen Maria cry. She said she didn't deserve forgiveness. She doesn't. No, but I deserve to give it, for me, not for her. Ruth taught you that justice makes the world better. She taught me something too, through you. That forgiveness isn't about the person who hurt you. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying that hurt forever. We climbed into the wagon. As we rode away from the prison, Anna never looked back. Will you visit her again? I asked. No, that chapter is closed. Now I write a new one. And she did. After the trial, and Anna and I stood outside the courthouse. Spring had come to Charleston. Flowers bloomed, birds sang. The world kept turning. What now? I asked. Now I go back to St. Catherine's. The church has appointed Reverend Samuel as interim administrator. He's asked me to help rebuild. Make it what Ruth wanted it to be. That's good work. What about you? Back to your mountain? I thought about it, about 3 years of solitude, about hiding from the world because I'd made one terrible mistake. No, I said finally. I think I'm done hiding. Kate offered me a deputy position, part-time, said she could use someone who knows the mountains. Anna smiled. Ruth would be proud of you. Maybe, I hope so. We stood in silence for a moment, not uncomfortable. Just two people who'd been through hell together and come out the other side changed. Will I see you again? Anna asked. Count on it. Someone's got to make sure you're not taking on too much. not trying to save the whole world by yourself. That's rich, coming from you. I learned from the best. 6 months later, I visited St. Catherine's. The place had transformed. The walls were still stone, the chapel still stood, but the feeling was completely different. Children played in the courtyard, real play, full of laughter and joy, not the quiet, fearful obedience that had ruled under Mother Constance. Sister Margaret ran the day-to-day operations. Reverend Samuel provided spiritual guidance. And Anna taught the children not just reading and writing, but life skills, critical thinking, how to question authority and stand up for themselves. Grace was there, thriving. She'd decided to stay, help with the younger children. Said she remembered what it felt like to be afraid and wanted to make sure no other child felt that way here. Anna met me in the garden. She looked healthy, happy, at peace in a way she hadn't been before. "How's the work?" I asked. "Hard, good. We're taking in more children than we can really handle. The diocese keeps sending us cases, kids from all over who need a safe place." "You need help?" "Always. Why, you thinking of becoming a teaching nun?" I laughed, actually laughed. "Not quite, but Kate and I were talking about setting up a network. Places like this in other counties. Safe houses for children escaping bad situations, with federal marshals to coordinate and transport and investigate." Anna's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. That's exactly what's needed. We'd need people to run them, people with experience, people who understand what these children have been through." "Are you offering me a job, Jacob McAllister?" "More like asking you to expand what you're already doing. Keep St. Catherine's. But help us build more, train others, share what you've learned." She was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Ruth would love this idea, wouldn't she? A network of protection, a web of safety." "She would. She'd probably say it took us too long to think of it." She'd be right. We walked through the garden, the same garden where Ruth had worked years ago, growing herbs for medicine and vegetables for the kitchen. Anna had planted roses along one wall, red and white, symbols of love and purity. "I still think about that day," Anna said, "when you paid $1 for me, when you could have walked away but didn't. Everything that's happened since, all the children saved, it started with that choice. You made choices too, every step. You could have stayed silent, stayed hidden, stayed safe. You didn't. We made choices together, that's why it worked." She stopped by a small stone marker, a grave. Ruth's grave, moved here from my mountain with the church's permission. "I talk to her sometimes," Anna admitted. "Tell her about the children, about what we're doing. I hope she can hear." "If anyone can, it's Ruth. She never was good at staying quiet." Anna laughed. No, I don't suppose she was." As the sun set, turning the sky gold and orange and purple, we stood together in that garden. Two survivors, two fighters, two people who'd learned that sometimes the smallest act of defiance, the simplest choice to do right when wrong is easier, can change everything. Grace came running up, breathless. "Miss Anna, Sister Margaret says supper's ready, and we're having pie." "What kind of pie?" "Apple, with cinnamon." "Well, we can't miss that. Come on." Grace grabbed Anna's hand in mine, pulling us both toward the dining hall, where light spilled from the windows and the sound of children's voices rose like music. Inside, 30 children sat around tables, eating, talking, laughing. "Safe," Reverend Samuel said grace, a simple prayer of thanks. And as I looked around that room at faces that glowed with hope instead of fear, at children who had futures instead of just survival, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace, not the peace of solitude and hiding, but the peace of purpose, of work worth doing, of lives worth saving. That night, sleeping in the guest quarters, I dreamed of Ruth. She was standing in the garden, sun on her face, smiling. "Took you long enough," she said. "I'm sorry, I got lost for a while." "Found your way back, though. That's what matters." Did I do right? With Anna, with the children, with all of it? What do you think? I thought about Grace's laughter, about Sarah Finn reunited with her mother, about 30 children sleeping safe in beds instead of working in mines, about a system of evil dismantled, piece by piece. I think we did what we could, with what we had, when we had the chance. Ruth smiled wider. Then yes, you did right. You did good. Now keep doing it. Don't hide again. The world needs people like you, like Anna, like everyone willing to stand up when it's hard. I miss you. I know, I miss you too, but I'm not really gone. I'm in that garden, in those children's smiles, in every small act of kindness that ripples out into the world. That's how we live on, Jacob. Not in memory, but in action. She started to fade. Ruth, wait. I love you. I love you too. Now wake up. You've got work to do. I woke as dawn light filled the room. Outside, birds sang. Children's voices drifted up from the courtyard, already awake and playing. A new day, a new chance, a new opportunity to make the world just a little bit better. I got dressed and went downstairs. Anna was already in the kitchen, helping prepare breakfast. Grace was setting tables. Sister Margaret was organizing the day's lessons. It was normal. Beautifully, wonderfully normal. Morning, Anna said, handing me a cup of coffee. Sleep well? Better than I have in years. Good, we've got a full day ahead. 3 new children arriving from Grafton this afternoon. They'll need settling in, assessment, care plans. I'll help. I was hoping you'd say that. As the morning unfolded, as children came down for breakfast, as the work of healing and teaching and protecting began again, I thought about that dollar I'd paid 6 months ago. Best dollar I'd ever spent. Not because I'd saved Anna, though I had, but because she'd saved me right back. Saved me from solitude, from guilt, from a life lived in shadows. She'd reminded me what Ruth had always known, that one person can make a difference, that small acts of courage add up, that justice is worth fighting for even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Years later, when Grace was grown and running her own children's home, when the network had expanded to 30 locations across 5 states, when the laws had changed to protect vulnerable children, when Mother Constance had died in prison and Silas's execution had become a footnote in history, someone asked me about that first day, about what made me step forward in Whitewood, about what made me pay that dollar when walking away would have been easier. I thought about it, thought about Ruth and her wisdom, about Anna and her courage, about Grace and her resilience, about all the small choices that became big changes. And I said what I'd come to understand was the truest thing I knew. A human soul is worth everything, every risk, every sacrifice, every uncomfortable moment, every hard choice. Because when you save one soul, you save the world. That's not theology, that's just truth. The kind of truth that doesn't need a church or a cross or a holy book to prove it. Just people willing to see it and act on it. The reporter wrote it down. It became a quote they printed with the story. A story about an unlikely rescue that became a revolution. But the real story was simpler than that. It was about a mountain man who stopped hiding, a nun who found her voice, a child who survived, and a dollar that bought not a person, but a chance at redemption for all of us. That was more than enough. That was everything.